Hey, welcome to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russell Sorry.
This podcast is about all things Wisconsin, history, music, culture, and beer. Although we don't often use strong language, the content is not intended for young audiences, so listener discretion is advised.
If you love the bluegrass music you hear in this intro, please check out Dang It's from Madison, Wisconsin by visiting their website, dang-its.com. Now on to the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast, your weekly dose of the Dairy State. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russ Sorry.
Welcome to 2021, our first episode of the year. We have a special lineup for you today, an extra special lineup, really. We are talking about the early history of one of the most recognizable brands on the planet, but also, that ties back to the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin. That's right. We are talking about Milwaukee's own Harley Davidson. Exactly. Just so you're not confused, that was not a V-twin engine. That was Russ Sorry. We also have great Wisconsin music from Devon K and The Solutions, which is awesome, as well as a very, very incredibly special interview with Lakefront Brewery.
Russ Klisch. Oh, man, it's huge for us. Yeah, we also have the brew review and another installment of the infamous How Many Locos You At? But before we begin, we wanted to thank everyone for riding out this terrible year for us. 2020 was hell on earth, from WAP to politics, from financial strain to coronavirus.
Tiger King.
This year has been a dumpster fire.
It's been a little ridiculous.
I have to say, the light that came out of this was our podcast and just being able to share a couple brews with my best friend. So cheers, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was, like you said, this was honestly kind of like that silver lining on a really dark cloud. We were able to sort of muster up the energy to use this forced free time, if you will, to do something kind of positive and something that's fun for us. And hopefully it's fun for all of you as well. So today's main story, again, is the early years of Harley Davidson. We want to sort of pinpoint that as a highlight, is that it's the early years. We didn't get too far into the more modern stuff because this is an extremely huge story. You could go on for probably 4 or 5 episodes beyond this one talking about Harley. So
without further ado, here's our main story about Harley Davidson. And like my co-host said, we can't do everything, so we're doing the early years of Harley Davidson, which features the founders William Sylvester Harley and Arthur Davidson years, all the way up until about World War I is where we're going to kind of cut it off. And we're going to definitely keep going after that. We just wanted to make it clear, this is the beginning, and it's not all of Harley's history. So born on December 29th, 1880 in Milwaukee, William Sylvester Harley, to parents William Harley Sr., a railway engineer, and mother Mary Smith, who immigrated to the United States in 1860. They lived in Milwaukee's north side on Burleigh Avenue. He first worked at the Meiselbach Bike Factory at the age of 15 in 1901, thus sparking the initial idea of, what if I put an engine on this thing? Which is like the total dude thing. I'm going to throw an engine on it.
What if I just made this thing motorized and horsepowerful?
Exactly. He attended college at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, receiving a degree in mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineers right here, this guy too.
Yep.
In college, he worked at a Madison architects firm and as a waiter for the Kappa Sigma fraternity house. While working as an apprentice draftsman for the Barth Manufacturing Company, he would start to drop the plans for the legendary motorcycles today with his childhood friend, Arthur Davidson, thus the name Harley Davidson. And Arthur Davidson was born on February 11th, 1881, also Milwaukee native. His father, William C. Davidson, was a Scottish immigrant arriving in the United States in 1858. His mother, Margaret Adams McFarlane, also of Scottish descent, was from the Scottish heavy area in Wisconsin, Cambridge area, which is actually the home of Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, Cambridge. Yeah, that's where he has his
museum.
The garages and museum.
Yeah, he's actually from there, which is kind of cool. They eventually both moved to Milwaukee, close to William Harley in the Burleigh area, making them close childhood friends. Here is where our legend begins. The year is 1901. A 20-year-old William S. Harley draws up plans for a small engine that could fit onto a regular pedal bicycle frame. They wanted the bike to take the hard work out of pedaling, this slogan being credited to Arthur Davidson, which I agree, man. I don't know. I'm not the most physically fit human being, so throw an engine on it for me.
Well, I was just going to say, too, don't we always want to make exercise a little easier? You know, what's the toughest part about running on a treadmill? Oh, yeah, running.
Yeah, exactly.
So what can we do to make that easier?
So during the next 2 years, work would begin using a smaller displacement of 7.07 cubic inches and a 4-inch flywheel. In the North Side shop at the home of their friend Henry Melk, the first design was worked on. In 1903, Harley and the Davidson brothers concluded the initial design. But they did realize that they did not have sufficient power needed to go up hills without the assistance of an additional use of pedals. And they wrote off the first design as a valuable learning experiment. And like Einstein says, I mean, no mistake is a failure. You learn from your mistakes, basically.
Correct.
So we can't go on without mentioning the story of the Honey Uncle story, which is a pretty well-known Harley Davidson story. As he was a key provider to the funding of the Harley Davidson initial design, Arthur Davidson's uncle was a bee farmer in the Madison area where Arthur was able to borrow $500 to get the company off the ground. The initial larger sum of seed money, which he stored in his mattress, mysteriously had gone missing after a cleaning lady visited his home. From this point on, he was commonly known as the Honey Uncle. The bee farm was sold to UW-Madison and is now known as the Picnic Point in the Lakeshore Natural Preserve in Lake Mendota, actually, Nature Preserve.
Nice.
Immediately after they began work on an improved machine using a much larger engine and a much larger flywheel, going from 7.07 cubic inches up to 24.74 cubic inches with a 9 3/4 inch flywheel. So a lot bigger compared to that little guy that they strapped on the first time.
Yeah, significantly different.
They used a frame pattern that was close to the design that was used in the Flying Merkle, designed by the Milwaukee Merkle Motorcycle Company. Using the loop frame design and thus impacting all of the future designs of motorcycles, they also received help from Wisconsin's legend, Ollie Evinrude, huge legend.
Yeah.
The outboard motor legend here in Wisconsin. He was working on his own design for assisting with automobile traffic in the Milwaukee area, which provided to be crucial in the design. This prototype was assembled in the 10 by 15 shed in the Davidson's backyard. Most of the major parts were made elsewhere, including some of the parts being fabricated in the West Milwaukee rail shops, where his older brother, William A. Davidson, was a tool room foreman. All 4 of the original founders worked on this prototype, including William A. Davidson, Walter Davidson Sr., and of course Arthur Davidson and William Harley. On September 8, 1904, the design was completed. It was featured in the State Fair where a motorcycle race was held. Edward Hildebrand rode it and placed fourth in the race, bringing much needed attention to the Harley-Davidson name. In 1905, the retail market would start and they would feature an ad in the Automotive and Cycle Trade Journal. That year, the Carl H. Lang dealer in Chicago sold 3 of the 5 bikes that were built in the backyard shed. They moved the shed to their first facility, known as the Juneau Avenue plant, which is a 40 by 60 single-story wooden structure where in 1906 they produced 50 motorcycles.
That's huge. 50 when they're doing most of that stuff by hand, really cranking every single piece and placing every single piece.
It's pretty impressive.
That's a pretty good feat.
In 1907, William S. Harley graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a degree in mechanical engineering. That year, they expanded the factory with a second floor later and facing the additions of a Milwaukee pale yellow cream brick that we all know and love in this city.
Yeah, Cream City.
With the new facility's location increased to 150 motorcycles in 1907. The company was officially incorporated that September, which is pretty cool. 150, that's a huge step up. I mean, just for a few guys working, there's not a lot of employees at this time, so it's pretty awesome. They also began selling their motorcycles to police departments around this time, a market that would have been important to them ever since. And in 1907, William A. Davidson quit his job as a tool foreman for the Milwaukee Road Railroad and joined the motor company permanently. Production in 1905 and 1906 were all single-cylinder models with the 26.84 cubic inch, 440 cc's for our counterparts overseas. In February 1907, they displayed a prototype model at the Chicago Automobile Show. a 45-degree V-twin engine. Very few V-twin engines were built between 1907 and 1910. These first V-twins displaced 53.68 cubic inches, 880 cc's, which is pretty large bike for even that time. That's huge.
Yeah.
And it produced about 7 horsepower. This gave about double the power of the first engines, and top speed was about 60 miles per hour, or 100 kilometers an hour for our counterparts overseas. Production jumped from 450 motorcycles in 1908 to 1,149 machines in 1909.
That is an insane jump in that amount of time.
It's pretty impressive, and they began hiring more people in the factory, too, so they could produce more. And they also had, like, assembly stations at this time in the old factory. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
In 1911, the company introduced an improved V-twin model with a displacement of 49.48 cubic inches, or 811 cc's, and mechanically operated intake valves as opposed to the automatic intake valves used on the early V-twins. That opened up by engine vacuum. It was smaller than earlier twins but gave better performance. After 1913, the majority of bikes produced by Harley were the V-twin models, which you still even see today, a lot of them. There's a ton of them on the old bikes, and even the newer bikes still feature V-twins.
Yeah, absolutely, they do.
In 1912, Harley Davidson introduced their patented full floating seat, which was suspended by a coil spring inside the seat tube. The spring tension could be adjusted to suit the rider's weight, and more than 3 inches of travel was available. Harley Davidson used seats of this type until 1958. By 1913, the yellow brick factory had been demolished and a new 5-story structure had been built on the site, which took up 2 blocks along Juneau Avenue and around the corner of 38th Street. Despite the competition, Harley Davidson was already pulling ahead of Indian and dominated the motorcycle racing market after 1914. Production that year swelled to 16,284 bikes.
That is an absolute astonishing number.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that they jumped from, in a matter of a few years.
1909, they were like 1,149.
Right, to 1914, where they have over 16,000 machines, which is just huge. It's awesome. And I'm so proud to call Harley Davidson our own brothers, Wisconsin brothers.
Absolutely.
So.
I mean, how could you not?
Exactly. And so with that, we're going to conclude our first part of the Harley history up until World War I, as there's so much information out there, and we didn't want to take up a 3 to 4 hour episode, so we'll be splitting this one up. And please stay tuned for more additional segments to this story, because we're definitely going to keep it going. Harley Davidson's such a legend in the state, so that's going to conclude our main story for today.
All right, we have another music segment for you.
Sweet.
This is one that I'm very excited about. Devon K and the Solutions. This group is absolutely fantastic. I love everything about their music. Their music videos are hilarious. The one in particular, the song that we're doing today, the music video for that song, Oh Glorious Nothing, is an absolute cool video. I remember before they released this album, they were releasing quick snip videos and stuff and Twitter posts and things that said, I don't know why everybody thinks we're putting out a new album. Stop it. We're not putting out a new album. And it was just kind of like this ruse, which was really funny, that they were just sort of denying these rumors, creating probably themselves, which was really funny. I just thought that the humor behind it all was great. And the music really stands. I mean, it is a fantastic bit of power pop punk.
Yeah,
it's
for
very
sure.
good.
You definitely can hear that influence.
Yes,
I like
exactly.
that. I love that stuff. So,
wanted to go ahead and say that the album was mastered at Stillwave Studios. Very close friends of ours, Alex Mylink, Eric Atwell. Those guys are an extremely talented group of production and audio engineers out of Milwaukee there at Stillwave. If you are looking for studio time and stuff like that, check it out. I mean, you're going to hear a lot more coming from them very soon, too. I know we've got a couple other artists that are currently recording there now that are producing music that we're going to release. So without further ado, this is Devon K and the Solutions, Oh Glorious Nothing.
Oh someplace that I've never known. All I wanted was to feel anything. A point I've made while screaming into the unknown. And my fears are just embarrassing. I don't want to end up in the nothingness alone. Moon overhead and clouds in my pockets. Lost my remains before they grow cold. Moon overhead and miles that I belong in. Take me away to someplace that I've never known. Our glory's nothing. What's the meaning of something when we are no more? Our glory's nothing. If that's the worst thing that can happen, let it happen. Our glory's nothing. What's the meaning of something when we are no more? Our glory's nothing. If that's the worst thing that can happen, let it
All right, everyone. That again was Devon K and the Solutions. Oh, Glorious Nothing. I encourage you to check out their Bandcamp. They're on Spotify and iTunes. Just check them out. They're absolutely fantastic. I promise you, within the next probably 2 or 3 years, these guys are going to be like stupid huge. And that's a promise of mine directly. So check that out.
Yeah, and with that, we have another beer review.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we got Lakefront Brewery. We're talking about the Hazy Rabbit today. India Pale Ale, which is awesome. And I believe it is a hazy IPA. It's 6.8% alcohol by volume, so going to get a couple bows after drinking this bad boy.
Oh, yeah, this thing is definitely going to take it straight to the chest, straight to the nips. I don't know, wherever it goes.
When you opened it, did you get that initial hit of hops? It's like so hoppy. I love it.
Yeah, you're right. So it first of all, like you said, you crack this thing open with your bottle opener and immediately you get that fresh aroma of the hops, and it's very good. I happened to burp right at the same time, and I had pizza for breakfast.
Nice. So that doesn't help.
Oh.
I'm getting a hint of pepperoni.
Was this brewed with Pizza Hut? Cool. Not a sponsor, by the way.
All right, so initially, like it's just a very it's not overly bitter, but it's like that bitter that I love. It has a bite to it.
It's what
I love these IPAs. Like they have a little bit of the piney taste. I think
so it's a little hint of the piney. The one that I always talk about that is like way overly piney is the Two Hearted.
Yeah, it can be. I agree with that.
But this one, what I like is that it almost has that really, really far distant pininess.
Yeah.
But more of that like bittery citrus. The bittery citrus is what I like to call that.
The carbonation's like perfect in this. Like when it hits your tongue, it just kind of like you can feel the little zip.
Yeah, it's not like you're
really
drinking a 7-Up. You know,
yeah.
It's perfectly carbonated, perfectly balanced flavors, hopped perfectly.
I agree.
It's so good.
I mean, it's Lakefront. I mean, we got Russ Klisch coming on later. It's Lakefront. They make some of the best beers I've had in Wisconsin as well. I mean,
probably some of the best beers I've had ever.
Right, and I mean, when I make a 6-pack for other people, like in other states, the Lakefront IPA is always the one I go to. Like that's a Wisconsin staple.
You're noted as saying Linalool from Pearl Street.
Yeah,
you're throwing some sort of Lakefront.
Oh, for sure.
Hazy Rabbit's a good one, but you could pick any of them.
You got to go Fantasy Factory for sure.
Carbon 4
Fantasy, you got to do that one. But then there's just other ones.
Who doesn't love a cat riding a unicorn shooting lasers and shit.
With guns in his hand, Mario's castle in the background. It's just a crazy.
Literally the coolest art of any brewery in the world, Carbon 4. But again, for the flavor, for the absolute perfection of brewing as an art form, Lakefront hits it.
For sure.
And they nail it 100% of the time, which is great. I mean, maybe we don't see the misses on the backside that are all the scientific, process, but what they produce and they put out on the market for everybody to drink, it's absolutely amazing. We've talked 100 times on this show about their fantastic tour.
Oh, for sure.
The one thing we don't mention all the time is their absolute fantastic tap room. That's huge. You can go see the original Bernie's Chalet.
That's
there.
what I was saying. These guys hit a home run. With this beer, I wish I could just slide down that slide right now, but
crack.
Here comes Bernie,
Get
drunk.
up,
going
get
down
out
the
of here,
slide.
gone.
Dude, wouldn't that be the best job, though?
Oh, for sure.
Just to
And
get trash and slide down.
We've had a dozen friends that have worked there.
I know.
At Lakefront.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah, and actually, shout outs to Kenny G for scrubbing the tanks and giving us this delicious clear beer,
Yep.
The guy's awesome.
Did you say scrubbing taints?
I hope he's not scrubbing taints, Ken. If you listen to this, you're not scrubbing taints,
Yeah.
you're scrubbing tanks.
Fantastic jobs. All of the people out there that make it possible for us to enjoy a nice lakefront beer. Thank you so much for everything you do. Because I could literally sit here and drink any one of these any day of the week and consider it my favorite beer at that moment. It's so good.
For sure. And I love that they do the Our Turn series because actually Nate Burlington and Kenny G
Kenny G.
They've had the beers featured by these guys, which is just really cool. And actually the artwork on here is pretty neat. It's like a rabbit that looks like he had a rough night.
The old Blink-182 rabbit is what I think about when I see this.
Yeah, for sure. He has like green ears, but he looks a little worn out, some bloodshot eyes, like he had a pretty rough night. He might need some Pedialyte.
He may have been drinking some of this.
Oh, probably. He might need some Pedialyte just to keep moving for the day. Some 2 times electrolytes. That's like, so anyone that doesn't know, grab Pedialyte if you're hungover. It's the best.
I also suggest sinus medication. I don't know what it is about
really?
it. Yeah, the sinus medication. For some reason it works. I don't know. Allergy pills, not allergy pills, but sinus pills. More specifically, I think it's like the Equate brand.
But awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to give that a shot and try it. And we just want to say, pick this one up. It's called Hazy Rabbit IPA, India Pale Ale. Snag this one at your local grocery store. Chug it down. Have a good time on it. And we're going to move on.
And be safe. All right. We have another edition of How Many Locals You At?
Oh, yeah. So we
this
got
one
a
is
crazy one.
Super cool.
Oh, my God. So this one happened in 2007. Police in Wisconsin have cited a legless man and his friend on drunken driving charge, saying the amputee was at the wheel while his friend worked the pedals. It was a third and second such arrest for the men, respectively. Police say that the amputee was sitting in the driver's seat and told officers he had too much to drink, but he argued he wasn't really driving since the other man was on the brake and accelerator.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, that's going to work for you. Both men were also cited for driving after their license had been revoked. These guys.
Yeah.
But police say a third man in the truck who was also drunk walked himself home after the traffic stop. So good for you, dude.
Yeah.
The dude in the back, good for you, man.
Good for you to not be a part of that whole thing. Because,
Yeah.
they could have obviously had one person steering, one person using the brake, and one person operating the accelerator.
Oh, man.
And then all three of them would have been
That would have been
fucked.
hilarious. But
So,
yeah, this is just a crazy story.
I want to come back to the first part of the article. It states first it was a legless man and his friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then below that says it was a third and second such arrest for the men respectively.
Exactly. So they're
That
veterans.
means the legless man has done this 3 times. And the other man has this is his second. Can we just talk really quickly about a guy with no legs getting his third OWI?
Right. That's insane.
How?
I don't know.
Has he found other people to operate pedals for him?
Hey, John, I need some
Yeah.
help.
Hey, I'm about to head out, but do you think I could borrow your legs or your arms or whatever you want to do to press these guys down here? You just stick your face down in the feet area where I no longer occupy, and you can just jazz the pedals around. I'll tell you what's going on up here.
So there wasn't a lot of details on this one, so we don't know age. The location, I believe, was in Appleton, where this happened.
Doesn't
it doesn't
surprise me.
say, but it was in another article that I read with this one. There was no alcohol, like they didn't tell the limit or age or anything.
Yeah, no PBT tests, no blood tests.
So we don't have a lot of details on this
We
one.
don't really know why they were pulled over either.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just not a lot of details on this one, but it's just such a crazy one.
If we take this just solely based on the idea, if we take the scenario that's in front of us and the idea that a legless man is out getting just trashed, let's just assume it's at a bar, and him and his, I guess, legged buddy decide to drive home in tandem.
Right. I don't know.
That is a loco idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
And in fact, I think for this one, Russ, we have to do our very first two-person loco in this, but consider them one person because you
So
have
it's like
to
you're
take,
combining. Yeah, you're using the legs of the one man.
You've got to
You got a
morph
body.
the locos into one person from two people.
So we're squeezing this down into one. So
I mean, I
For
know where
me-
I'm at. I know where I'm at right off the bat.
okay, I think an 8 to 10 loco. I'm thinking. So 2.5 cans. What are you thinking on this one?
I think you're wrong.
What are you thinking?
Because what did you say?
I saw 10 loco, 10 to 12 loco maybe. What do you think?
So
3
you're thinking
cans maybe, 2 to 3
combined they're
cans.
10 to 12.
What are you
loaf?
thinking combined?
Oh,
Higher? Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty messed up one, so I
Yeah.
might have to agree with you.
I
We'll see what you think.
immediately thought a 30 loco.
Between the two men.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is
Listen to how
bringing in
stupid this
2021 with the
idea
big
is.
dog.
Listen to how stupid the idea is.
Right.
You don't have
That's
any
true.
legs.
Hey.
Why don't you just steer? No, dude, you have legs and arms. Why don't you just drive? The legless man needs to.
Yeah,
Is he also brainless?
Yeah, right.
Why didn't he just look at the guy and be like, "I'm not gonna just steer you,
you
moron.
have all the parts we need to
You
drive.
you literally have everything we need. Why don't you just do it?"
Right. Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the other
and
guy
I
goes,
agree because it is a combo
it's a combo punch.
for sure. So yeah, I would have to agree with you. We're going high. on this
30
one.
lokes,
We're going
man.
to 30 loco.
This is our first
is
episode
high
of the year, but also our first case of a 30 low.
because it's combined between the two men. So yes, this is a high guy.
We'll just call them each 15. Split it where it needs to be, but
Oh, man.
I'm saying they're each
A 30 loke. All right. Yeah, I agree. Probably pretty darn close.
because you agree the idea.
30 loco.
You be the hands of the operation
I'm-
and the eyes, and I'll just be the pedals. And you're an idiot.
right.
Both of these guys are idiots. Hey, don't be like these guys. This is 2021. You're listening to this episode in January. I believe it is January 3rd when this is released. Don't be like these guys.
No.
We weren't able to
Please
catch you for the first of the year for New Year's, but don't be like these guys. Please, for the rest of 2021 and the rest of your lives, don't be like these men.
All right. Today we're here with Russ from the Lakefront Brewery. How you doing, Russ?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have another Russ on the show.
Yeah.
So we got to ask, can you give us a little history and background on the Lakefront Brewery? Obviously, it's one of our favorite tours.
Yeah, we started back in the 80s. We were one of the first people to come out and kind of see what was going on with craft beer. My brother, I bought him a book on how to make beer, and he actually read the thing, and he made a batch of beer, which to me didn't look too appetizing, but I had a beer and it wasn't bad. Figured if my brother could do this good, I could do better. So I started home brewing, and we both home brewed more, won awards at state fair and national awards, and it kind of goes to your head and thought, well, we could open a brewery. And we didn't have much money, so instead of starting a big brewery and getting investors, we started a brewery as small as possible to lose the least amount of money. And we then just continued to grow from there, and we're still doing that today.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. It's one of our favorite beers. It actually got me into craft beer. I started with the Lakefront IPA, and it was the first bitter beer I ever had.
Yeah, no, it's a great beer. It's still one of the best sellers, selling IPAs in the state. So
Awesome.
happy with that one.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, so besides that, is there any new beers that we need to check out here at the Wisconsin Drunken History podcast?
Um, well, we are coming out with the Black Friday here soon, so that's one thing. We're having a release of it with some crawlers of our older beers that are on tap right before Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving this year, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we're not having the event at the brewery, but we're going to have it the beer available at liquor stores around town.
Awesome. And yeah, I was going to ask you too. I know things with COVID have been really weird for everybody, but are you guys still doing like trivia and the keg stand up?
Yeah, we're still doing trivia, cake stand-up. I know the latest one was canceled, but we're still having the trivia. We're still trying to do some other things around here at the brewery, but we're trying to be safe too.
Exactly.
So we do have all our tables distanced, and it's a group by table, and nobody stands around. Can't go to the bar, just like what you're supposed to do right about now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just such a weird time for everyone. So that's awesome that you're still doing some things. And we got to ask too. I know you guys are our favorite tour, and pretty much every brewery we've interviewed has suggested everyone needs to check it out. Is the brewery tour still going on?
No, that's one thing that's kind of tough right now during these times where you have kind of close quarters with everybody, and it's hard to keep everybody within 6 feet of each other with strangers. So, and the tour guides really are not that thrilled about trying to give a tour like this and try to keep everybody apart. So it's that, and also the fact that when we have the tours, we have up to 60 people or something going on. I mean, even if we have 10 or 20, all of a sudden you're almost dumping those back in the tour room, and then you're having everybody stand up and gather again, and you really can't do that. And right now, at the least the less amount of seats we have in there, we're almost filling the place up with just people wanting to come in to drink beer and to dine. So it really wouldn't help us too much just to have tours.
Exactly. And I was going to ask too, is the beer hall still open though with socially distanced tables?
Yes, yeah. You can still come on down, get yourself a beer, check out, see what we all have on tap. We have different brews we're playing with, and brewer series beers that you can have that are tasty. So that's definitely still something to check out.
Awesome. And yeah, are you guys still doing the signature series? I know we had a couple friends who worked there, Nate Brellington and Kenny Gerberick. We went to school with them, and they're pretty good friends of ours. And are you guys still doing signature series?
Sure are, yeah. We still finished up the Javar. We got the Hopgood, which is the Vienna Lager right now. The Javar actually just won a European beer star.
No way. Awesome.
And so for his honey lager category out in Europe. So that was a great win for him. And so yeah, the next one's going to be My Turn Ryan. He's one of the brewers down in the brewery, and he's got a great beer coming out.
Yeah,
I think Imperial Porter.
I love the one, the Kenny one, but it was like a Scotch ale, so it was a little hard hitter.
Yeah, well, these guys all have their favorites. When you work in a brewery, you always want to brew a batch of beer. I have this idea. Yeah, you should be brewing one of these. So we give everybody their chance, and it's fun. And there's a real person behind everyone, and they work at the brewery, and it kind of shows their own personality.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing to do with your employees. I love it. It's such a neat thing. All right, so before I let you go, Russ, we always ask our guests, how Wisconsin are you? They're about 10 questions, just random things, just anything you'd have to deal with living in Wisconsin here. So I'm going to begin.
All right.
So this one's a controversial one. Where do you think, what is considered to be up north for you?
Anything north of Wausau.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, actually. That's kind of my common answer. Like, when you right before 8 there.
Yeah, I know, because we have relatives like in Fort Wisconsin and Lublin and Medford, and so when we always used to go up there, that'd be north, and I forgot what highway that is that heads west of. So maybe it's 8 from Wausau, but anything north of there, I was considered up north.
Yeah, same here. And have you ever tailgated at a Brewers, Packers, or a Badgers game?
The Packers and Brewers definitely. Been to several. I mean, of those. I don't have tickets for Lambeau, but I've been up there with other many. Every year you probably go out and do that at Miller Park. Badgers. I've drank in State Street.
Cool.
Before games.
Cool.
I've never really done a tailgate there.
Yeah, it's the one. So my buddy, the co-host, he has not been to a Badgers tailgate. I've been to all three, and the Packers. It's just so hard to get tickets here. I mean, it's always sold out, or you have to pay $500-600 to get there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was different.
So Summerfest. Did you have a favorite show or a memorable show from there?
Yeah, probably was back in high school, and Humble Pie was playing, and they took down the beer tent. And they had basically kind of like a riot there. And I remember guys going around. They took all the beer kegs, and I was back when they had bungs in the kegs, and people dropped them until they came off, and people were pouring beers out of the bung hole in the keg for people, and running around with that.
That's nuts.
Wow. That was probably one of the more memorable ones. Yeah.
That sounds like a riot in itself. So,
Yeah.
Have you ever closed Walski's in Milwaukee?
Oh yeah. Definitely good friends with those guys.
Yeah, actually, I had a chance to do it once in my lifetime, but I want to do it again. But I'm getting pretty old to last that long now.
Yeah, I haven't done it for a while, but no, it was in my younger years. It was nice to go down there and listen to the Ramones and everything else that they always had.
Oh, that would have been an awesome show.
Yeah, well, I mean, they always used to play that at the bar, but no, those guys are great. It's good. It's a true Milwaukee institution there. I always love working with them.
Yeah, everyone has to do it if you're ever in the Milwaukee area. It's a really cool place. It's kind of like that really homey bar feel. I love that place.
Yeah.
All right, so have you ever been to a supper club, and do you have one that you recommend checking out?
Yeah, I've been to many. Which one I have to check out? There's one up in Rhinelander called Al Gin's that we used to go to a lot, and that's a nice supper club that has a true Wisconsin feel to it. Big pine logs that are in there.
Yeah, it's that like dark atmosphere, that like old look to it. They got the 70s oak walls in there and everything.
Yeah, well, this one's more of an up north feel because it's kind of like a cabin kind of place, but it's very well done.
Oh, neat.
Very nice.
Have you ever hit a deer?
No, but I missed one last week on Humboldt and Capitol. Believe it or not, here in town, it must have been right out in front of me. I couldn't believe it. Ran right across the street.
There
was a mini. I went to school in Eau Claire, so I used to drive up Highway 10 there and go through, and you used to find a lot of them on the road at nighttime, but never actually hit one.
Yeah, so you actually saw an urban deer. You don't see those too often.
Yeah. No.
All right. Have you ever operated a snowblower?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got one in my garage.
It's kind of.
I do prefer to shovel over blowing, but yes.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those questions. Everybody in Wisconsin's had to do that. It's just one that popped up, so I thought I would ask. So a beer brat. Is there a lakefront beer that you recommend us trying with beer brat?
Eastside Dark.
Eastside Dark.
That's anytime you get a maltier beer, if you don't want a bitter beer, like an IPA doesn't work, but if you get a good malty like a Bach or a Maybach or like a River West Stein where it's like a middle palate beer, those work the best when you're making the brats to kind of help with the flavor. I think it reduces some of the fats in there and makes it a little more tasty.
Also, I'm going to give that one a shot. I know it's always hard to waste a craft beer, but I love the different flavored brats, so I'm going to give that one a shot.
All right, great.
All right, have you ever wore a cheese head?
Gosh, I think once maybe or something like that, but I do not own one.
Yeah, me neither. I've worn one, unfortunately. Someone made fun of me right away, but I still like them. I would wear anything Packers.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more question for you before I let you go. Other than Lakefront, which obviously is like one of my favorite tours and a lot of other people's favorite tours, is there a brewery or a tap room that we should probably go check out?
I always like the guys at Black Husky. That's always fun. That's very homey, good beer. So I always appreciate them.
Yeah.
So,
We just had him on the show, and he was telling us about how he has the worst brewery tour.
yeah, I think there's written on the side of his van, or even to go there. But yeah, well, that's Tim and Tony. So they're great people. I appreciate everything they do and for the craft industry, and they're fun. And like you say, there's a lot of places you walk into, and you just kind of all of a sudden you relax, and that's one of them.
Yeah, it just seems like a really cool place. You can bring your dog, which is nice and everything. It's just a really laid back place, and I can't wait till COVID's over because I want to get out and about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be hopefully it'll be soon. I don't know. But,
Yeah, we'll see.
We just all got to be careful, and if we all became careful, things would go down and things will open back up.
But Russ, thank you so much for your time. It was a huge privilege to have you on. It's amazing that we got you on too. I know my co-host said he had you as one of the tour guides, and he was like just super happy about it and talking my ear off about it after it.
Yeah, well, we'll start those back up here soon, as soon as we can. We'll make it safe for everybody to come on out, and we're looking for it. Believe it, for us, it's a huge revenue stream. And bringing people in and give them a taste of the city and all. And we want to start up as soon as we can.
Awesome, Russ. Thank you so much for your time. You have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too.
All right,
Take care.
bye.
All right, that concludes this episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast.
If you enjoyed this vulgar display of Wisconsin, please like and subscribe on whatever streaming platform you prefer. And remember to hit the bell on YouTube to be notified when we release new content.
Also, if you have any suggestions or ideas for future episodes, please send us an email at widrunkenhistory@gmail.com or head over to our Facebook and Instagram pages.
Thanks again for listening, and remember, as always,
Watch out for deer on your way home.